Okay, picture this. It's basically an impossible scenario. How on earth does a foreign electric car company launch into a massively competitive new country and somehow sell thousands of brand new EVs without getting a single regular person to walk into a showroom, right? Sounds like a total paradox. Well, in today's explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how Vietnam's multi-billion-dollar automotive empire is pulling off this exact crazy feat in one of the toughest car markets on the planet, India.
So, what's the secret sauce here? The answer is incredibly bold. Vietnam's massive conglomerate Vingroup, led by founder Pham Nhat Vuong, is running a strategy that totally bypasses traditional retail. Instead of sitting around waiting for customers, they're deploying their very own massive electric ride-hailing company called Green SM right onto the chaotic, bustling streets of Delhi-NCR. They're jumping straight into the ring to compete with established giants like Uber and Ola. But here is the real kicker. Green SM is instantly buying up its own VinFast cars, literally right off the factory floor, to build that fleet.
Economists actually have a name for this. It's a classic Trojan Horse strategy. See, VinFast isn't just launching some random taxi app to grab a few bucks on fares. No, this is an absolute masterclass in corporate vertical integration. By sneaking their core product, their electric vehicles, inside a widely used everyday service like ride-hailing, they are basically creating demand out of thin air. They're covertly slipping into the daily lives of consumers, setting up shop in a market that, historically, just chews up and spits out foreign newcomers. Now, to really grasp why this wild strategy is even necessary, we have to look at the harsh reality of entering a new market. Usually, you'd need to drop hundreds of millions of dollars building out extensive dealership networks, hoarding spare parts, and, slowly earning public trust over years and years, all before selling any real volume. But the reality in India is absolutely brutal. Massive foreign auto giants, think Ford and General Motors, spent decades and billions of dollars trying to build that consumer trust, only to eventually throw in the towel. They packed up and left after being totally crushed by fierce local price wars from giants like Tata and Mahindra.
To dodge this massive, incredibly expensive hurdle, Vingroup's founder engineered a seriously brilliant workaround. I actually love this analogy because it perfectly simplifies all the complex economics here. Imagine you open a brand new independent bakery in a crowded town where everyone already buys their bread from two famous local spots. If you just open a shop on the corner, nobody knows you, right? You go bankrupt. So instead, you buy up 10 popular sandwich shops across the city. You don't just ask them to buy your bread, you mandate that they only use your bakery's bread for every single sandwich. Boom. Suddenly, you have forced your way into the market, and you're building instant brand trust because thousands of hungry commuters are literally tasting your quality every single day.
And that right there brilliantly illustrates the dynamic at play in Delhi-NCR right now. Green SM is the sandwich shop, and VinFast is the bakery. You don't just cross your fingers and hope retail customers eventually wander in and find your cars in a crowded market. Nope, you aggressively build a taxi fleet to effectively force commuters into your vehicles. It's proactive, it's aggressive, and it's a highly controlled way to guarantee your product hits the streets.
So, is it working? Well, the results aren't just theoretical, they are already showing up in the hard data. Industry dispatch numbers revealed that in June alone, VinFast dispatched nearly 2,000 vehicles in India. Let that sink in. For a brand new foreign entrant with basically zero traditional retail presence, moving 2,000 units in a single month is a massive initial spike. It immediately made auto analysts everywhere stop and pay attention.
But let's actually break that number down a bit, because the details are super fascinating. A staggering 54% of all those June dispatches were a single specific vehicle, the Limo Green. This is a 7-seater electric MPV built on the chassis of the VinFast VF7, and it's adapted specifically for commercial ride-hailing. And guess who bought all these fleet-focused MPVs? Yep, they were bought up entirely by their own sister company, Green SM.
This brings us to a really neat economic concept called a captive fleet strategy. It's crucial to distinguish what Green SM is doing from the big incumbents here. Unlike Uber or Ola, which are basically asset-light tech platforms that completely rely on independent drivers bringing their own personal Maruti, Tata, or Hyundai cars onto the app, Green SM operates a 100% exclusive electric fleet. Every single car on their platform is manufactured by their sister company, VinFast. No exceptions. Now, this level of tight control creates a brilliant self-sustaining loop. First off, by acting as its own biggest customer, Vingroup guarantees high production volumes for its factories right from day one. Secondly, because those assembly lines are running at a massive scale, it automatically lowers the unit manufacturing costs.
Third, it provides steady, immediate commercial revenue while the traditional retail consumer showrooms are still, being built. And finally, by deploying thousands of bright cyan-colored cabs across high-traffic metro hubs, they've essentially launched an inescapable, high-visibility mobile billboard campaign. And that mobile billboard? It acts as the ultimate real-world test drive. Every single time an everyday passenger books a ride on the Green SM app, they step into a spacious, cyan-painted 7-seater Limo Green MPV. They get to actually experience the quiet electric ride, the onboard amenities, and that solid 60 kilowatt-hour battery range firsthand. VinFast is actively proving its comfort and reliability directly to the Indian public, completely bypassing the need to spend billions of dollars on traditional TV ads. Let's move on to roadblocks ahead, navigating the hyper-competitive market. Because look, navigating a hyper-competitive market like India is never a guaranteed win. While buying your own cars jumpstarts your factory, surviving long-term means overcoming some pretty massive hurdles. Green ESM has to balance extremely aggressive fare pricing just to stay in the game with established giants like Uber and Ola. On top of that, they have to manage the intense challenge of driver retention, figure out the logistics of localized EV battery degradation for cars that are running all day long, and constantly secure reliable charging station availability in super congested urban centers. Honestly, running a massive commercial fleet is an entirely different beast than just manufacturing a car. Ultimately, the real true test of this whole strategy is going to be the pivot, transitioning from fleet visibility to private retail sales. They simply cannot rely on their own taxi fleet forever just to pad their sales numbers. The end game of this Trojan Horse strategy is to convert that massive fleet visibility into actual retail showroom sales. They have to prove that everyday Indian buyers, after taking a ride in a Green S cab, are actually ready to go out and buy personal VinFast models, like the VF6 and VF7, to park in their very own garages.
Which brings us to our next section, the real-world impact. What this means for you. So stepping back for a second, why does a Vietnamese EV giant launching a ride-hailing fleet in Delhi-NCR actually matter for your daily commute, your wallet, and the broader transportation landscape? First and foremost, we are talking about immediate commuter upgrades. If you use cab apps regularly, the arrival of a well-funded, aggressively expanding player brings in fierce new competition. Green SM brings an electric fleet with standardized driver training and high-capacity 7-seater vehicles. This forces incumbent platforms like Uber and Ola to wake up and really step up their game. The result for you? It drives down those incredibly frustrating cancellation rates, pushes platforms to ensure better vehicle hygiene, and brings aggressive launch discounts and better fare pricing as these companies battle it out for your daily booking.
Beyond just fares and comfort, there is a massive environmental impact here. We're talking about seriously accelerating the green transition. Think about it. A single commercial ride-hailing vehicle easily runs upwards of 200 kilometers every single day. By flooding major metropolitan corridors with thousands of fully electric cabs, this single fleet is actively replacing thousands of heavy-polluting, traditional diesel and petrol taxis, which drastically reduces urban emissions.
And as a direct ripple effect of that green transition, this massive fleet is effectively forcing the expansion of the public charging grid. When you've got thousands of fleet vehicles that desperately need power to stay on the road, it forces private energy companies and municipal bodies to rapidly invest in and build out high-speed DC fast charging hubs across major cities. And the really beautiful part, once that infrastructure is built to support the fleet, it expands the reliable public charging grid for everyone else who owns a private EV too.
Which brings us to the core philosophy driving this entire operation. Vertical integration is the ultimate key to conquering complex global markets. This marks a permanent shift in strategy. It proves that in the modern electric age, an auto company can't just build a car, ship it overseas, and blindly hope people buy it. By combining the manufacturing plant, the software app, and the fleet operations entirely under one roof, VinFast is writing a bold new blueprint for successfully entering complex, developing markets. It's an incredibly aggressive, high-stakes expansion that could fundamentally change how new technologies are introduced to the public. So now that you've seen the mechanics behind how VinFast is basically hacking the auto market with its captive taxi fleet, I want to leave you with this question. For your very next commute, if the price was exactly the same, would you choose to book a dedicated, quiet, electric green SM cab over your traditional Uber or Ola ride? It's a real question of comfort, strategy, and the future of mobility. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep an eye out for those cyan cabs in your city.